Thank you so much for meeting with me, Mr. Legislator. I was wondering if you could give me a little background on your time at CHLA and Healthcare Financial Management Association.
I've been working at CHLA for the last 33 years. I started out as a manager of patient care services and moved on to being the director, after which time I began to collaborate with the CNO of the hospital on employee assistance issues and patient advocacy. I guess you can say that becoming the director of community affairs just seemed like the right move. I have now been in this role for the last 8 years and can't imagine working anywhere else. Through my foundation in health administration and the relationships I have built along the way, I became increasingly involved in the Healthcare Financial Movement Management Association and more recently became elected as the HFMA president.
What current issue are you working on, either at CHLA or HFMA?
The hot button issue, if you haven't been watching TV for the last month, is the healthcare reform bill. My time at CHLA as the HFMA president has been devoted to this bill for the last couple of months.
What are you currently working on when it comes to this issue?
Building relationships for the hospital and HFMA. A lot of what I do is meeting with legislators and advocacy groups and showing them what we do here at Children's. We take them on tours and introduce them to patients, families, and staff so they can hear the real life stories of these patients and how the hospital has changed their lives. It's impossible not to love the patients and families here, ultimately. They are the reason that these legislators pay attention to what changes to healthcare will do to our organization and to the care we can provide.
What would the reform mean for Children's Hospital?
As you know, CHLA's population is more than 75% Medicaid. This means that 75% of our funding is dependent on the reimbursement that Medicaid provides. Changing that reimbursement could mean a substantial change to our financial stability.
So, what do you believe the cultural and social impacts of this reform would be?
I think that the social impact would be people who are currently utilizing Covered California sponsored insurance plans. The barista at Starbucks may no longer be able to afford their coverage because they won't be offering a decreased cost plan. Instead, this new plan will offer tax credits, which won't be helpful throughout the year. The other issue that is that the process is confusing. When Covered California was first introduced, there was a grant that allowed for the hiring of individuals whose primary job was to help people not only understand their options but sign up for the correct plan for them. This change does not include that safety net for those who potentially could have a harder time understanding. Therefore, first generation families or immigrants are going to struggle when it comes to this change.
What do you believe the economic impact of this form would be?
I believe that we are going to go back to the way things were before. We will have a growing group of individuals who do not have health care coverage. There will be a drastic shift back to the utilization of tertiary care rather than preventative care. Families will be unable to pay for services received, and organizations will not receive reimbursement. There will also be a shift again in regarding employer covered insurance plans. This is going to create huge changes in the current state of healthcare. Although I do not believe the ACA was the perfect plan, I can tell you that I do not feel that the current bill presented is not the reform we need.
Thank you so much for your time and meeting with me.